We arrived at Mexico City right towards the end of this leg of the tour, which had started in Montreal about a month earlier. And we'd done about 18 dates in America, ending up in 2 nights in Los Angeles. And then we flew from there to Guadalajara, where we played in a theatre. And then we got an internal flight to Mexico City. In Mexico, for some reason, we always tend to get greeted by fans, which is nice. And a fan gave us these 2 magnificent sombrero hats, if that's what you call them, with our names embroidered on them. And we were very, very impressed by them.
Me gustan porque son geniales, hacen muy buena música y aparte no todos los grupos en estos momentos pueden ser algo así, ¿no? No pueden dar una propuesta como la que hacen ellos.
Bueno, hemos sabido que el público de México es muy prendido y les encanta venir a México porque saben que de una forma los hacemos reír. Somos muy flamboyantes, somos excéntricos. Eso les gusta a los Pet Shop Boys del público mexicano.
Pues llevo 14 años de fan de ellos. Desde los 12 años he estado siguiendo su música y la verdad me siento muy identificada con su música, me hace sentir muy bien y la verdad ya en el 2004 que vinieron me encantó, obviamente.
Pet Shop Boys me gusta por la música, la trayectoria que han tenido y es el mejor grupo de música electrónica para mí. Porque es un grupo que está implementando una tendencia que fue la electrónica aquí en México y entró con mucha fuerza. Hace 20 años que los conozco. Súper emocionado de verlos otra vez.
Saben cómo hacer música, saben cómo hacer espectáculos, saben qué darle a la gente y pues por eso nos tienen a todos aquí, no por nada llenan un auditorio nacional.
I think the first time we went to Mexico was because we'd never been there before and we fancied going to have a look around the area. The tour was actually called Discovery because we had an album called Disco and Very out at the time. I just remember that it was a lot of fun, really, travelling around there.
And so this was actually in 2006. This was the 3rd time we played there. We were there, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. I think the reason we wanted to film this show there is because you get this real warmth from the audience and excitement.
Mexican loves the Pet Shop Boys because they are so universal. They are not just specific for English people. I think they are for the entire world. They talk about feelings that everyone feels. So I think that's the key, the point.
They knew the essence of pop, talk about relationships and it seems like everyday things, and they say it so well in their songs and music. And you can talk about politics and still dancing with them. I think it's amazing.
Pet Shop Boys creo yo que tiene mucho éxito aquí en México por la música electrónica que tiene y creo que es el mejor grupo en su género. Es música a todos lados pega, o sea, tiene que gustar, ¿no? O sea, es Pet Shop Boys el mejor.
It's an interesting thing that in Mexico they're like this very English music. I remember we were quite surprised the first time we were told we had an audience in Mexico because you somehow don't imagine that it would be a country where they'd like this kind of English music. And yet a lot of English groups are very popular there.
Pues, a mí me gustan muchísimo, me encanta, me siento reflejado en muchas sus canciones. A mí me parece que lo mejor de ellos es, lo que a la gente le gusta es la música, al que realmente conoce le gustan las palabras. Es uno de los pocos grupos que la música dice algo de mi vida.
Es una música muy agradable al oído. Son solamente 2 personas y es muy agradable escucharlos. Que los escuchamos, tienen canciones con temas muy pegajosos.
Sí, es muy, como dice mi papá, que es muy agradable la música y tiene muy buen ritmo. Y yo creo que desde los 7, 8 años empecé a escucharla y me gustaba y por eso yo estoy aquí con él. Y me gusta lo electrónico y el ritmo que manejan ellos me gusta mucho. Yo no es la primera vez y estoy emocionado.
Why I'm a fan of Pet Shop Boys? Because I like the 80s music, I like how they dress and everything. And, well, because they are always in, And with the new music that they have, they still have alive the feeling of the 80s,
And in Mexico City, every time we've been there, we've had a day, at any rate, to wander around a bit. This time we wandered around the area where Trotsky's house is, a nice old area which you've been to before. Mexico City, of course, is one of, if not the biggest city in the world. It's sort of incalculably big and you can drive around it forever. But this visit, we were only there really for about 36 hours, but we had a little chance to wander around the morning of the concert.
Actually, one of the things about the Mexican venues is that there's always a lot of dodgy merchandise for sale. You know, not just mugs and things like that, but, you know, sort of skateboards and all sorts of crazy stuff like that.
A mí me gusta el Despecho Boys porque me gusta la manera que cantan, innovan, porque tiene historia, tiene cultura de su propio país, de cultura universal, internacional, que puede llegar a todo mundo, a todo el mundo puede llegar por lo mismo, ¿no?
Me gusta porque son únicos, son originales, 100%. Porque es un grupo muy innovador, es un grupo que trae mucha cultura, es un grupo muy completo a pesar de que sean dos.
I think people dress up because ever since I can remember from my youth, they are very different. These guys are like very visual, and you gotta do something to blend in, you know?
The production is quite interesting. I think we're unusual as a group in that we always work with a director and or designer from the theatre. And in many ways, that's, in fact, in every way, that is the starting point of our live show. The last time we toured in 2002 to 3, we did it like a rock band. We had 2 guitarists and a percussionist and ourselves. On this tour, we decided maybe to go back a little bit to our more theatrical roots. So we decided to have some backing singers and also to have some dancers. And we came up with the idea of playing with the identity of the Pet Shop Boys. So we got 2 male backing singers, 2 male dancers, and us. It was like 3 versions of the Pet Shop Boys. And then into that, we put a regular collaborator of ours, Sylvia Mason-James, because she's a great singer, and also she would stand out from these 3 pairs of men, as it were. So, in fact, we have the 3 generations of the Pet Shop Boys, Chris and I being the oldest, and then Nick and Andy in the middle, and then Ivan and Nathan, who are around about 20-ish. And they were just very, very good dancers from different backgrounds. And so they bring a huge energy to the show. And also they help to visualise things because they can kind of play characters in a way. And also they bring a certain amount of humour to the show, I think, like in The Streets Have No Name.
Ezzy always had the idea that the cube would move not by mechanical means, but by the crew physically moving it. And so the crew, who not only set up the show, build the cube, they then have to appear in the show and then put it down again at the end of the day, pack it up, travel with it and do the same again the next day. So I think they're probably the most hard-working crew in show business. But, you know, they get to be on stage and see a bit of the limelight and reflect in our glory.
Well, we ended this leg of the tour the day after Mexico City in Monterrey. Chris and I decided, as we were in Mexico, we never really see much of it, that we would stay in Monterrey and go out into the desert and stuff. And in fact, we had a really, really nice 5 days. But it felt slightly forlorn in a way, didn't it, when we drove off in a different car and everyone else went in their bus to the airport, because it's just got a lot of camaraderie in a tour. And we always like the crew and the singers and dancers, everyone on stage with us and what have you.
What really impressed us about playing in Mexico was the response that we got, and yeah, it's really quite touching.
I always think English people or people like us must be in a sort of very slightly exotic because we come from the north of England, and I wonder if it's how it seems to people in Mexico. I wonder if it's the same the other way around.